Barry and I met at Southwestern Seminary in Fort Worth. I was in Christian education. He was studying to be a pastor. We married as students. When we graduated, we moved to a church where he was pastoring, and we were living our dream. But our third son, David, when he was 12 weeks old, he was diagnosed with a very rare brain disorder. He looked perfectly normal, but he just wasn't developing as he should. And he lived for 12 years as a newborn baby. He never held his head up. He never knew who we were. In 2002, David died. There was sadness, of course, when your child dies, but there was no regret. We knew that we had provided the best life that David could have experienced. We were still serving in a church. Barry was a pastor. I was still a stay-at-home mom. And he walked in one day and said that he had to resign the church where he was pastoring. And it rocked my world. We came to Shades because Barry's parents were members here. We were going to just hide and heal, figure out what life was going to be. We were sitting in church one Sunday, and the choir did a musical entitled God Will Make a Way. And I can remember sitting in church, hearing that song and thinking, God, this is one time that there is no way. There's no way that our life can ever be what we thought it was going to be in ministry. That's all we want to do. And one of the few times in my life that I really felt almost hopeless. So our choice is, we can go through life getting by and doing the best we can, but why? Why should we even try when there's this power that's God that can give us total peace, that can give us total strength? Why would we not want that? A few months later, I got a call, and I had the opportunity to come on staff at Shades. Had been a stay-at-home mom for 14 years since seminary, and had this God-given opportunity. And 14 years later, we had been married 28 years at that time. I was still serving on staff at Shades. And I got a call one afternoon, and I was told that he had died, that Barry had died, and that he had died by suicide. I think God gives us strength in lots of different ways, and He gives us the strength and the grace that we need when we need it. It was a shock. It was a really hard time, but even in the midst of that, there was always that assurance of God took care of us through David. God took care of us when Barry stepped from ministry, and so God was going to take care of my sons and me through the death of Barry, and He did. A couple of years later, I reunited with a man that I had known way back before I had ever met Barry. He had developed aplastic anemia before we married. He had fully recovered, and then he relapsed. And so 11 months after we married, he died. And after he died, I stayed on in Shreveport. The church was grieving, I was grieving, so we just grieved together. And I looked back through that journal, and all I wrote was, I'm waiting. There's something God has for me, and I don't know what it is. And I got a phone call one day from Brenda Clark from Shades Mountain, and she said, would you like to come back and serve as our ELC director, Early Learning Center? It's like, wow, never even thought I would be back at Shades. And so once again, God had just walked me through this great plan of His to be right back where I loved, at Shades Mountain. And so when we get to the end of this life, we're going to say, thank you for bringing me through this. We're not even going to ask why when we get there. It's not even going to matter, all of these things we think are so important here, because we have eternity to look forward to with a God who loves us so much that we cannot even imagine what that love is.